Hello, hello. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. We had a wonderful discussion last Friday with the Social Justice Ministry entitled Up Close Personal with our PGC disciples, Reverend Paula Smith-Sawyer, Reverend Julie Bell, and Disciple Kelli Terrell joined us. We had a discussion around criminal justice in North Carolina and the prison system and related issues. So I wanted to take the opportunity to record a brief summary of what we talked about so we could share that with our fellow disciples and provide them some of the information that we discussed during that call. So again, thank you for joining me. We are going to share. So if you would please take the next couple of minutes and introduce yourselves, talk about your professional experience, and then we'll get into just a couple of questions. So if we could start with Reverend Bell.
Hi, I'm Julie Bell. I am an attorney in North Carolina. I've practiced law here for 28 years. I started as an assistant district attorney, and so I've practiced criminal law. I've defended people who were charged with crimes. I also have practiced in civil litigation. So I've been involved in the justice system for over 28 years here in North Carolina.
Thank you. Reverend Paula.
Thank you for having me tonight. I am honored to be a part of this panel. I have been a physician here in North Carolina for nearly 40 years, and for 19 of those years, I had the honor of serving the citizens of North Carolina with the North Carolina Department of Correction, now known as the North Carolina Department of Public Safety. I had several roles, first as a contractor, then as deputy medical director, and retired in 2017 as chief of health services and medical director.
Thank you. Disciple Kelli.
Good afternoon. I am Kelli Terrell. I began my career in education in 1994 as a teacher, home economics, got into special education. I began with the Department of Public Safety in 2007 as a compliance specialist. Now I am currently the Director of Federal Programs, where I work with Title I and Special Education Director. And I work with the youth schools. We have 4 youth schools across the state, and we work with youth who have been incarcerated, who have committed adult crimes.
Okay, wonderful, thank you. And we also have on the call with us Ed Leaks, who was a member of the Criminal Justice Subcommittee. Thank you, Ed, for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Great. So what I would like to do, we certainly won't be able to cover all of the issues that we discussed last Friday, but if each of you could share with our viewers just what you would say are some of the key points that you thought came out of the discussion and what you would like them to know about the North Carolina criminal justice system or the North Carolina prison system. We'll start with you, Kelli.
What I would like our disciples and others that are watching to remember is that when the youth are incarcerated, especially with the federal programs, we are required to educate them. A lot of people like to have a conversation, I would say, about, why should we educate them? Especially with the special education program, they are required to still get those services just like they would in the public school. Another thing I would like for them to remember is that they have a lot of opportunities for education. They have a lot of opportunities once they receive their high school equivalency. If they choose to do so, it is considered a program, just like other programs, like other work programs in the prison. So it is an opportunity, it's a choice. So once they do get that high school equivalency, they can go on to community college programs. They also have opportunities for university programs once they are incarcerated. And if they finish, they can also continue those programs on the outside once they leave prison.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Reverend Bell, what are some key points you would like to leave with our viewers?
I would like our viewers to know that if you look at statistics here in North Carolina, and frankly in the nation, you would be clear that there are a disproportionate number of minorities who are stopped and a disproportionate number of minorities who are involved in the criminal justice system in relationship with the amount of that population that is in the state. And I think that could be for a variety of reasons, but the statistics would demonstrate that. I would want them to be aware of that. I would want them to be aware that it's helpful to have diversity in the criminal justice system with judges and with police officers and with people who work in the court system. I would want them to be aware that there's some disproportionate statistics which show you that there's disproportionate impact with socioeconomic status. And I would hope that they would encourage people who are going to go into our criminal justice system to seek legal counsel. And if they're not able to afford legal counsel, to take advantage of the opportunity to have a counsel appointed for them. It's not necessarily a free attorney, but it is an attorney who the state will appoint in a criminal case when you're facing potential prison time. And that will be instrumental in being sure that rights are protected.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Reverend Sawyer?
Well, first of all, I think people have no idea that there are 55 prisons across the state of North Carolina, ranging from the coastal area all the way to the mountains. During my tenure, I saw the population rise from the low 30s to over 40,000 in the mid 2000s. It is a lot to take care of, as we have providers across the state, about 50 doctors, nurse practitioners, PAs, and 1,200 nursing positions across the state. They did a wonderful job. The other thing I want people to know is that inmates are the only group of Americans who have constitutionally mandated care. What do I mean by that? If you do not provide health care, it is seen as cruel and unusual punishment. So we provided the care that was necessary to handle whatever health issues the inmates may have had. We saw an alarming amount of chronic disease, chronic health problems such as diabetes, hypertension, chronic kidney disease, mental illness, schizophrenia, bipolar disease, and all of these needs were met and continue to be met in the prison system.
Thank you. And so it sounds like what you're saying is that they address not just physical needs, but also mental health needs of our inmates. That's
correct. Currently, there are over 5,000 prisoners in the state of North Carolina who have serious mental illness. By that includes the schizophrenia, the bipolar disease, and severe depression.
Thank you. Thank you. Another very important part of our discussion last week were action items, or what people can do to impact change where we see inequalities or the disparate treatment that Reverend Bell talked about, that we can use our voices and other opportunities to make change. So I would love for each of you to talk a little bit about how we as individuals, as members of PGC, can help to impact change to allow more justice in the criminal justice system. Reverend Paula, I'll go back to you for that.
Okay, I think one of the things that we as disciples of Pleasant Grove and as citizens, we need to make sure we understand the philosophies of folks who are running for offices. Those who will become our elected officials, we need to understand their ideals about the criminal justice system. The other thing we need to understand is, how do they feel about rehab? Prison has become more about punishment than actual rehab, as it was many, many years ago. So I really think we have to move back to that, because it is quite costly to have all these people incarcerated that must be fed, clothed, and have health care. And with the skyrocketing healthcare costs outside of the prison, it is the same within the system.
Thank you. Thank you. Kelly?
And I want to continue what Reverend Paula just spoke about when it comes to rehabilitation. And as citizens, I want us to think about this. I didn't think about it myself before I began my career with the Department of Public Safety, but as citizens, I want us to think about the why. Why should offenders have certain things? And healthcare is one. Why should they have education? We want them to be rehabilitated. We want them to have health care. We want them to be okay. We want them to have mental health care when they leave. We want them to be a better person than when they came in. So we want them to have the right legislators. We want to have, and I'm sure Reverend Bill will speak more about this, but we want to have the right people in place in our state government that will vote for these things when for the Department of Public Safety. So we want all of this, everything goes full circle. And so we need to make sure we have the right people in place, not just for education, but that will look at education as a whole for the penal system as well. So we want them to have we want everybody to have their right in the public safety, in public schools, public health, everywhere. That's what I would want us to learn as citizens.
Thank you. Thank you. Very, very good points. And Reverend Bell, you made a number of great suggestions during our discussion. So if you could, I won't ask you to identify all of them, but if you could, and if you can recall some of the suggestions that you made about how we can make a difference and what's important for us to keep in mind as citizens.
Absolutely. I would suggest we're very fortunate here in North Carolina. Our governor and our Chief Justice of the Supreme Court have formed a task force that is looking at the justice system. So one thing that citizens can do is take advantage of attending those meetings. And right now you don't have to go in person, you can go virtually. So it's very easy to go, but you can see their schedule and go to their meetings and see what they're talking about. And if you want to give feedback, there are ways to give feedback to the committee about things that they're looking at. So that would be one thing I would suggest. Secondly, I would suggest that along with Reverend Paula, that citizens educate themselves about candidates who are running for office and what they stand for and that they pay attention to those who are in elected office and how they conduct themselves. All judges should conduct themselves in an equal manner, treat all citizens fairly and impartially, listen to the evidence and make decisions based on the law. And I think citizens should vote. We have an absolute constitutional right to vote. And I think they should. I think they should educate themselves and carry that out. I also think it's important as different issues come up, issues about related to schools, issues related to not just education, but the criminal justice system, that citizens educate themselves about what laws are in place and give feedback. You can give feedback to your state and national representatives. There are ways to contact Senate offices and House of Representative offices and meet with your local leaders and express your opinion. I think citizens should consider running for office. We have a lot of great people who are in office, and we have a lot of great people who have great ideas who are not yet in office. And so I think people should consider, do they have time to run for various offices, local offices as well, county commissioners, city council, mayors. Those are critical positions that make important decisions. We've seen that during this pandemic. Important decisions are made every day. We need police officers, and we have great police officers, and we have great people in power. But so we need to make sure that we are getting involved in our community and paying attention to the issues that are going on and speaking in an appropriate way to our representatives and in a constructive way to our representatives to tell them what we're interested in. And when court is back in session and the pandemic is over and we're not so much court is back in session, but when the pandemic is over and we're not socially distancing, go down to the courthouse and sit and watch. Sit and watch in a courtroom. Courtrooms generally are open to the public, and you can learn a lot. You can learn a lot. You can watch the police officers who are testifying. You can watch what happens in what sentences are handed down. You can learn a lot about our criminal justice system and learn about what is changing. Go watch the legislature, see what laws they're discussing. A lot of times people don't pay attention to what laws are about to get passed that have a great impact on your life, your daily life. Look at, get connected with your local police departments and town councils and city councils and get their agendas. You can read what's coming up on the agenda. You can read their laws at your leisure and see what impacts you. You might be surprised the rules and regulations that are in place, and you can have a voice in keeping the ones that you think are well and in helping to change the ones that you feel are not serving the public well.
Wonderful. All very, very good recommendations. I think people will be surprised how easy it is to find out information, like you said, when your town council or city council, when they're meeting, to find those agendas online, to even get in contact with your council members. They're usually just an email away. I emailed some of mine this week. We had some issues coming up locally, and it was easy and also impactful to reach out to them. And so I encourage all of our members to listen to your recommendations and find out where they can jump in to the process, educating ourselves and also becoming involved. So thank you so much for your insights today. Again, we weren't able to cover everything that we discussed Friday night, but hopefully this provided all of our members and whoever's watching with some good information about what's happening in the state of North Carolina. I do encourage you, as Reverend Bell said, to look at the Task Force for Racial Equity that our governor has started. And if possible, I will try to link that in the notes. And also go to that website, see where you can join in to some of the listening sessions or also provide your feedback, because the goal of that task force is to come up with legislation. And so you can have a hand in what that legislation looks like and what's important as they're drafting that. So again, thank you all for joining us tonight. This is a continuing conversation that we will have at our church and in our community. So I do encourage everyone to be involved. And as we all know, voting is, this is voting and election season. So we encourage everyone to be an informed voter, to be aware of the races that are happening in your community and in our state, and be prepared to vote. Make a plan today for how you're going to vote. If you're going to vote by mail or if you're going to do early voting, go to the Wake County Board of Election or the Board of Election of your county or of the state of North Carolina, and you'll see all the information you need there. Thank you.